my good friend Pete Strickland for a halftime interview. Welcome, Pete. How we doing?
Thank you. Good.
Now, a little bit of a bone to pick with you. I'm going around the channels the other night, and I see Maryland is playing St. Mary's, ESPN 3 game, and I hear a familiar voice. You're on the air, and I'm like, why didn't you let me know he's on the Maryland game? My daughter went to St. Mary's, and Maryland loved to watch and whatever, so I was going to give you a call the next day. Then I wake up in the morning, I check Twitter, you've been named the coach of the Irish national team. What went on with that? How did that go down?
Well, the first one is I didn't want to let you know because you're too conflicted. You just admitted you root for Maryland, and your daughter went to St. Mary's, so you're way too conflicted for me to even bring that game into your focus. The second one happened pretty quickly, and that was the night I found out. So I hadn't told my wife, and you know how that goes.
Yeah, probably not a good idea. But Tom Ponton knew before anybody else. He checks the internet, so I was able to find out. And certainly, congratulations. I know you were a coach for a long time, and then you got out a couple of years ago. You've been doing some other things, ESPN 3 games. You're doing the speaking thing on your own. Very successful. But at heart, you're a coach.
Yeah, there was a great opportunity to get back in the game. The commitment isn't extraordinary, so it's not a move to Ireland or anything like that. There's a lot of time spent in film and determining who your roster is going to be, so that's a little bit of a pick. But other than that, it's going to be exciting. A very heavy summer schedule, much like a USA Olympic team.
So you would compare your role to who?
I would say maybe Mike Krzyzewski would be a lot like my schedule.
And then Coach Calipari, he's the coach to the what team?
I think the Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic. Yeah. So do the three of you get together? Do you have like secret meetings?
I've been very busy. So they've been trying to get together, but I haven't been able to get with them.
Okay. Now, is it true you're going by the name Coach S right now?
That's true.
The other thing I'm not sure about, this process, you say it was quick. I think it was pretty slow because didn't you start the process close to 40 years ago? You took a barnstorming team over there, the Maryland All-Stars, which included yourself, some other Stags, Paul DeVito, Bill Rubeck, class of 75, played at Niagara, and then some guy named Mike Bray, who coaches that other Irish team.
Yeah, he coached the JV Irish team here in America. But, yeah, so that was when it all began. So people say, how do you get the Irish national team job? Well, you go over 40 years ago. I played there. You develop some relationships. You meet some people. You continue those relationships through clinics and camps over the years, and 40 years later, you get named the Irish national team coach. It's very simple.
When you guys went over, you did lose. Matter of fact, there's a guy over there who's still drinking for free, John Cooney, because he hit the shot over Bill Rubeck.
Well, they lost. I stayed on my team. They lost. The American teams lost. So as a GM, I was unsuccessful.
All right. So talking about a conflict of interest there. You were. But that's great. I know we're excited. My wife's already trying to figure out how we can afford to go over there. But like I say, you're a basketball guy. It's good to see you back on the sidelines.
Yes, it's exciting. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Stags. I know it's hard to tell, a little discrepancy in the score, but, first game, what do you think Mike's thinking right now?
He just wants to see him getting good habits, I think. And he got everybody that was, I'm not sure if Paul's able to play today. He might be injured, Paul Smith. Mm-hmm. But I think everybody looked like they were able to play was on the floor. So he's got plenty of film to teach him with. And, he gets some big games coming up. So, this is great to get their attention. The only thing he's been able to tell them so far is, what they're doing against one another in practice, really, a couple scrimmages. So this gives them where they put the linen on, and you can really find out what guys are like when the lights are on. I'm sure he's pretty pleased. I think defensively they look very sound. Mm-hmm. Every team is different, as you know. This is a team that's different from last year. The ball seems to really be spread out this year, a little bit more than last year when Markel had it in his hands, a large portion of the time. So I love the way the ball's spraying.
Yeah, Markel was a blessing, but in some ways, a bit of a curse because it kind of keeps the other guys developing. Because certainly, push comes to shove, we're getting the ball to Markel.
Absolutely.
And he was such a good player. He's doing fantastic for Washington now, and the projections about how good he's going to be at the next level after that. Yeah. But he made all the major decisions. So you live by him, you die by him. And now some other guys maybe move up the totem pole where all of a sudden Ryan Allen has to handle the ball more. DJ Harvey's catching the ball more on the wing. Josh Carton, who's really improved, is doing more things inside.
Yeah. No, I thought DJ looked like, he's really made strides. I thought he was energized. Again, he's not Batman. He's not Robin anymore. He's Batman now. And I thought he asserted himself nicely. He's going to have to do some of the things that Markel did last year. But again, the ball was getting in the right places at the right time. I'm sure Mike's pleased with that. Cardozo's not a great team, but they came out game. And no, I just liked our defensive intensity, particularly when the score got where it wasn't a factor. Mike was able to keep their attention. We'll see what they do second half.
Well, it's nice they got the two big guys, particularly Josh Carlton back there. So you can gamble a little bit. You know, you got the goaltender back there who's going to block it and start the break. You just got to make sure I don't get into bad habits because everybody's thinking, this is my game. I think some of the guys off the bench, I get my name in the paper today.
Got to ignore that scoreboard. And it's interesting to hear you talk about goaltenders because that's a lot like you when you play.
You're probably the first person to say that. Maybe that's why the TV thing didn't really take off. All right, well, let's talk local basketball a little bit. Got a little bit of time. You did the Maryland game. What do you think of our Terps?
I've seen the Terps a couple times. Saw them up close against Pitt. I didn't do the game against Pitt, but at Pitt Grand, I went down and watched it. And that was a game where they really were mismatched. And that's the type of game they're going to get mismatched in. They're young, but they're very good. They're very good. Justin Jackson, I think, is going to be a high-level player in their league, and it might be sooner rather than later. Cowan, as we know from the Catholic League, he's very effective, and I think Herter proved himself in the Georgetown game. So they're going to be good. They're not going to be good right away, but they've eked out some wins that I didn't think they'd get. They beat Oklahoma State. I didn't think they'd beat them. So I think Mark's got to be very pleased with what's going on there.
Well, I liked the win the other day. They beat Oklahoma State. Now, I wasn't watching. I was following on Twitter. But I'm watching that game, and Melo doesn't have a great game. He ends with 13. Now, he makes the play to win, but they're down 12 most of the game. Yep. And then you look in the box score, they had 4 guys in double figures, maybe another guy with 8 or with 7. Brantley had a good game. The transfer, CJ from Duquesne.
Right, CJ Gill.
Yep. He had a good game. Yep. DeMonte Dodd had a good game, and that's what's going to happen because you watch in the first couple games, you say, well, if Melo doesn't get 30 or 35, we're in trouble. So if those guys can start to get better, they're going to have a team. All right, so we talked about Terps.
I've seen Virginia twice. Yeah, I really like them. They've reloaded. They lost so much, but they've filled in with those guys that left with veteran guys. They're going to be interesting to watch.
Well, they're always going to defend.
Yep, absolutely.
It must be a tough game to call because it's going to be Virginia versus Pitt might be the worst game in the world to cover the last 2 years. Last question. All right, enough basketball. Skins, Giants. My Giants, we got the good record. We got 4 tough games. Skins have an easier record coming in, but it may come down to that last game. What do you think?
Well, I think we watch it at your house, and the loser buys.
Well, okay, we can do that. It's Christmas Eve. I'll be looking for that gift. Pete, this is great. Good luck with the Irish Nationals team.
Thank you.
All right, we'll get you back again soon.
Yep.
Thanks, Coach.
See ya.